18 years old when this Rolling Stone magazine came out. Yes, I was. I had just graduated high school in my tiny little town of Kennett, Missouri. I had headed to college to study classical piano and voice, but what I really wanted to be was Pat Benatar. I had always heard that Pat Benatar was classically trained, so I identified with her as a young music major. But when I got into a cover band and began attempting to sing her songs, I realized that Pat's voice was not just classically trained, okay? She had a power to her voice that was like no other female. This young, tough chick was rock and roll personified, and she could hold her own in a rocking band. Her first album, In the Heat of the Night, was many times certified platinum with hits like Heartbreaker and Need a Lover. But it was the song We Live for Love, penned by her guitar player and future husband, Neil Giraldo, that really put both of them on the map by reaching the top 10. This would be the first of many top 10 hits they would create over the years to come. In 1980, Pat and Neil released Crimes of Passion, which rendered Hit Me With Your Best Shot, which I butchered, the very controversial but message-empowered Hell is for Children, Treat Me Right, and You Better Run. You better run! Her voice and the sound that she and Neil created was totally individual and immediately recognizable. And how that powerhouse of a voice would come from her tiny frame was remarkable. Pat's close partnership with her husband, Neil Giraldo, who had been her producer, guitarist, and co-writer for more than 4 decades, created a sound that is simply impossible to replicate. But one of the many things that I love about Pat and Neil is their love for what they do and for each other. Neil has said that he compares he and Pat to Johnny and June. I can see that. Spider, as Pat calls Neil, and Patricia, as Neil calls Pat, have a life that is all about family and love and music. As a woman in this business and as a young woman starting out, playing in clubs who weathered some very challenging moments along the way of my own, Pat was an incredible example. She exemplified true feminism. She knew who she was and what she deserved. I'm grateful for Pat for making my and so many other female artists' paths a little bit easier along the way. Propelled by Neil's rock and roll muscle, Pat always reached for the deepest places within herself and came roaring out of the speakers to confide her truths directly to you. You could look at her when you were a young girl and somehow see yourself. She was fearless in what she chose to sing about. Songs like Love is a Battlefield took on charged issues and pushed the boundaries of what rock songs and videos could portray. She made hit songs that said something. Pat Benatar and Neil Giraldo were unstoppable. In both their personal and creative lives, they are a perfect match. They are soulmates and rock and roll icons.